Hi everybody and welcome to another piano video here on the Merriam Pianos YouTube channel. My name is Stu Harrison and today we are going to be tackling the most frequently asked questions surrounding Kawai's ES110. This is a very popular 88-note weighted digital piano that's been with us now going on about 5 years, but thousands and thousands and thousands of users out there, and a lot of people still considering this instrument as a super potent option in that $1,000 and under 88-note weighted range. So we have asked the lords at Google what the most frequently asked questions are relating to this instrument, and we are going to answer them one by one today. So thank you so much for joining us. If it's the first time that you're seeing us here on YouTube, we would really appreciate if you hit that notification bell and the subscribe button, of course, the minute that you are entertained or you find any of this useful, because we would love to have you back as a regular viewer, or of course, even better, a commenter. Please let us know what you thought of the video. So without further ado, let's dive right in with the FAQs on Kawai's ES110 right away. So these questions are in order of volume in terms of just how frequently they get asked on the internet. The first one is, how good is an ES110? Which, I mean, that is such a general question, but I know where it's coming from. People, get into this industry and they just want to buy a piano. They don't want to do 5 years of research to become a complete total expert. They just want to know if it's any good. And there were plenty of articles and videos that came out on the ES110 when it first arrived on the scene, talking about just the extraordinary value and quality that it brought to the market for its price range. And I still think that it does. So the short answer is yes, the ES110 is good. Here's why it's good. As it compares to other instruments in its price range, I think the quality of the piano tone and how they have matched that or paired that with the onboard speakers and amplifier is really sensational. I would say for its price range that the piano sound out of the ES110 is absolutely top of the game. And we're talking about portable 88-note digital pianos under the $1,000 USD price range. I don't think there's anything else that actually sounds better than the ES110 does. It uses individual stereo note samples. It's got a really big dynamic range. The sense of tonal shift from soft to loud is really great. So that is one big reason why I think this is good for its price point where it sits in the market. There's another reason I think it's great. It's got individual 1/4-inch outputs. There aren't too many in this price bracket that does that. The Yamaha P125, which the ES110 really is probably its closest competitor, also has the 1/4-inch outputs, but that's really important if you're going to be using this for any sort of a semi-professional or professional setting. I know a lot of people who were doing some gigging on the ES110 or had it set up in a home studio as a Midi trigger and potential sound source. So that's the second reason I think that this one really hits a nice sweet spot. Although this is becoming really a lot more common, when the ES110 first launched a couple of years ago, having the Bluetooth Midi at this price range was also a pretty unique feature. And then after all of that, the overall weight of the ES110, being as light as this is, made this super portable. So to have something that delivered that kind of sound, the quality of the tone, quality of the speakers, the outputs, the Bluetooth Midi, I think really gave this a nice wide lane to run in, and a lot of people loved it. So is the ES110 good for beginners? Again, for sure that's a yes. You can get other instruments that are less than this price point that still work for beginners. But when I'm thinking about a beginner, I'm thinking about an instrument that's going to let somebody really explore piano, probably with some type of instruction for, say, the first couple of years to really figure out whether this is something that they're going to resonate with and turn into a long-term pursuit. So yes, there are the $100 keyboards and $200 keyboards that you can get, which can actually work even at a professional level if you're not really trying to pursue acoustic piano as a more of a proper academic, proper is not even the right word, academic pursuit, or more in the classical vein. So if you're thinking classical and you're thinking piano, then the ES110 is a really awesome place to start, because you're looking for that nice balance between a good tone, a really nice wide dynamic range, because you want something that's going to be able to train your muscles to have that range of control. You want something with a good feel, and I do think the 110 has a good feel. I don't think that it's as outsized as its piano tone in terms of where it sits in the market, but it certainly is a very solid action to play on. It's like it's weighted nicely, and it's very responsive, and it's easy to use. I guess the last thing on that whole good for beginners is any beginner instrument is invariably going to be traded in, and I think when you are sticking with primarily those three brands in the 88-note weighted digital space, Yamaha, Kawai, and Roland, any of those three are going to have a really solid resale value, and so I think the 110 is going to retain a fantastic trade-in value for probably at least the next 5-6 years or so, where you're going to be able to invest in something like this and then move up to something more substantial, either sticking with digitals or acoustics. So those are the reasons I think that it's a good beginner instrument. Good solid resale value. It's a nice balance between piano tone and action. It's going to give you enough musical runway if you're thinking about more of a classical, structured, traditional, learning method. That teachers are going to be happy with the kind of dynamic range that it gives you, and it's nice and light and portable. You can move it around easily. So does the ES110 have weighted keys? Yes, it does. The type of key action the ES110 uses is the responsive hammer compact. So this is a shortened action. It's very similar to the action that you found in the original KDP 110. It uses a double sensor, and the weighting on this is very close to that which what you're going to find on about a 48-inch upright piano, or say a lighter, smaller baby grand piano. I find that the action from a weighting standpoint is very close to what you'd find on a Yamaha of this size, P125, or like a YDP 144, that type of instrument. I find that the sense of depth of the key action on the ES110 is a little bit deeper than what you usually feel on a Yamaha. It's not quite as hard a bottom as what you get on, say, a Roland, and it would have a similar repetition speed to, say, a Roland. So weighted keys. So when did the ES110 come out? Well, it was released in early 2017, NAMM 2017 actually. It hit showrooms most markets in summer and fall of 2017. So we are just up on its 5-year anniversary, which is a very typical product cycle for a lot of manufacturers in the piano space. Which means that we are now at the time where we're looking at the replacement model for the ES110. However, I know there's still a lot of ES110s sitting in stores. I'm expecting that there's likely going to be some type of a price adjustment on that right now. And because the ES120 is likely to be more expensive and the ES110 is likely to come down, Anybody who can nab any one of those ES110s is likely in for a fantastic deal, because I still find these instruments incredibly enjoyable to play, and they still stack up super well, particularly when it comes to the performance of those speakers. And I'll say it again, that acoustic piano tone out of this instrument is just great. So kind of a long way of saying this is about 5 years, 2017. There you go. So how do you connect an ES110 to a computer? Very simple. It's the same way that you're going to connect most keyboards to a computer, which is a standard USB cable. So this is one that's got the Type B and Type A connectors on each end, sometimes colloquially known as the printer cable. And one end goes in the ES110, the other end goes into the computer. In most situations, you will not have to download a driver. It's just going to detect this as a Midi input. And then as you play this, it's basically sending external Midi data, that's basically note information, out of this to whatever DAW you might be working with or scoring software that you might be working with. That is how you would connect it to a computer. This version of Bluetooth that's on the ES110, hypothetically, you could connect it to a computer. I haven't had a lot of success with that, so I would probably stick with the wired connection when you're going to PC or Mac. When you're going to mobile, however, Bluetooth does then come into the mix. Which brings us to the very next point or question, which is how do you connect an ES110 to Bluetooth Midi? First thing you are going to do is you are going to press the function button, and you are going to press the B flat, which is 3 B flats down from the very top. So depending on which numbering system, that's either going to be B flat 5 or A sharp 5 or A sharp 4, I guess, if it was the Yamaha version. But anyway, however you number them, it's the 3rd B flat down from the top of the keyboard. So you're going to press function, press the B flat, and what that does is it enables your Bluetooth radio. The only app that reliably works with this ES110 in terms of connecting is Kawai's Sound Museum. I've tried the Korg BLE MIDI Connect. That doesn't really seem to be very reliable. Other apps that do have built-in MIDI connects, such as GarageBand, seems to work as well. But for sure, the most stable, the most reliable, and the easiest is Kawai's Sound Museum app. And once the Sound Museum app is open, we're just going to have a quick look at this on our screen here. It will have a connection screen where you'll be able to see the ES110. You'll press the ES110 and it will connect. Once we're back here, this is now going to be where you can select from your various sounds. So this is how we get our concert grand or studio grand. Or mellow grand. You can also then get into your classic E pianos. Which they do a really nice job of. I don't think Kawai gets nearly enough credit for the Wurlitzer. Anyway, we're kind of going through a whole set of sounds, but the question really was how to connect it to Bluetooth. So that is how you do it. You want to make sure that you're in an environment that doesn't have like 18 other conflicting Bluetooth signals. You want to turn the Bluetooth MIDI on, and then you're going to use something like Sound Museum, which is Kawai's proprietary and free app on how to remote control this instrument, and that's how you do Bluetooth. But you can also use it to transmit MIDI information, and you can do that with a variety of apps. I just mentioned, GarageBand being one of them that also works really, really well. So how much does the ES110 weigh? Well, this clocks in at just 26.5 pounds, which, if I'm not mistaken, makes it the second lightest 88-note digital piano in the world. The only one that is marginally less than that is the Casio PXS 1100. Another question that comes up a lot is how to connect it to the iPad. You're going to do exactly the same thing we just talked about on a mobile device, because really, in terms of how Mac releases its iOSs, there's really not much difference between an iPhone or an iPad. So you're going to go through exactly the same process. You're going to use the same connection method, although the apps that are available to you might be slightly different. So people already asking the question, what are the differences between the Kawai ES110 and the 120? We have just done a full video on this, actually, talking about the announcement. It's not a full product review because we don't yet have our hands on the ES120 yet, but we expect to fairly soon. But we have detailed all of the major differences between the two instruments. So check that out for a more detailed response. But essentially, you're looking at an updated interface. You are looking at the addition of the SKEX sample set. There's a move from 14-watt amplifier to a 20-watt amplifier. There's a little extra cushioning in the keys. And there is the addition of Bluetooth audio as well. So a few really useful features there that are going to kind of keep this model super relevant and very, very useful to a wide range of customers, both beginners, semi-professionals, as well as professionals. So this one also comes up when you go looking for the most common questions about ES110, which is how does it compare to Yamaha? Which is a very expected question because Kawai and Yamaha are two of the most visible, dominant names in the digital piano space. Others that would be added to that list would be Roland is definitely in the top 3 in terms of market share. Then you get into other brands such as Korg or Nord or Donner is kind of the new entry-level product that you start to see on Amazon. Casio, of course, really elevating its product line now to very much compete with Roland, Kawai, and Yamaha in its lower and mid-range product. So back to the question, how does Kawai compare with Yamaha? Well, overall, I would think that most industry observers will have a preference between the two, and there's very loyal camps on both sides. But generally, I would say over the last 5 years for sure, and possibly the facts might even support closer to the 10-year range, you're looking at two companies that are putting out products in a very similar fit and finish range, very similar quality range. So they both have their points of technology that they will trumpet and assert is better than the other for this reason and that reason. But they're both very enjoyable piano tones to play. They both have respectable actions. Everybody's going to have their preference. I happen to prefer the action on the ES110 to the closest equivalent on the Yamaha side, but there's a lot of people who still find the GHS action to be quite acceptable. And if we're talking the P125, which is its closest equivalent, many of the same features and types of and quantities of tones available on that instrument. They both have the 1/4-inch outputs. Yamaha doesn't have any of the wireless stuff, but they do have the USB audio interface on it. So I would say different, but very much on an equal playing field from a quality standpoint. Now, this one kind of made me giggle, only because I've had to do this so many times, both for customers as well as myself heading to gigs. Can you fit an ES110 in a car? Well, yeah, for sure. If you're going to be fitting it in its original box, this I've done so many times, you're going to want to, on the front passenger side, tip that front seat down all the way, and then you're actually going to feed the ES110 in from the rear right seat over top of that reclined chair, and then once it's clear of the back frame of the car, then you're going to sort of twist it around, and it's going to wind up sitting in your front passenger seat reclined. If anyone has got a sedan, Honda Civic, Mazda 3, and they're wanting to take an ES110 home with them in the box, It is possible to do that even in a small sedan. If it's outside of the box, well, this is small enough that it's going to be able to fit in any number of places. Crack the back seat down and feed it right through the trunk, across the back seat if you've got a wide enough car, all sorts of options. So the very last and most frequently asked question about the ES110 is, how do you transpose? And I know exactly why this is on the list, because this is maybe one of the least intuitive things about the ES110. There's a lot of great settings that you can get into, adjusting damper resonance, damper noise, voicing, reverb, all that kind of stuff. But frequently you're pressing the function button to access it. For whatever reason, to transpose this instrument, you don't use the function button, you press and hold the piano button. No idea, but that is the way it is. You press and hold the piano button, and then the F sharp and the G sharp immediately in front of and just to the right of that button is either the lower or upper, or lower or raise, I should say, the transpose. So we're in concert right there. Actually, I just realized why they've done it that way, so that you can, with one hand, hit both of those keys and accomplish it. Although, you know, you could have just selected function and picked two other buttons. Who knows why that decision was made? It just is what it is. So you're hitting the piano key, and then you're pressing the lower and upper to accomplish that. So that is how you transpose on the ES110.